Yo, it's Mardu, and today we're diving into what might just be the ultimate Warhammer game experience. Let me tell you, I've been a fan of the Warhammer 40K universe since about 2020. Shout out to West Hammer for introducing me to the insane world of Grimdark and lore so deep you probably could literally drown in it. After being introduced, I went all in. I bought codexes, lore books, and just pretty much the works. Am I the biggest Warhammer fan out there? No. Can I recite every Space Marine chapter in alphabetical order? Nah, that's not me. But after being a fan of Warhammer for a while, naturally I started looking into Warhammer games because I am a gamer. First I stumbled into Total War Warhammer, Vermintide, Darktide, the OG Space Marine 1, and my previous favorite, which is Warhammer Boltgun. I love that game. And honestly, I liked all these games. Each one of them had its own flavor. Some of them had terrible launches, but we're not gonna talk about that. But I felt like they all added something special to that Warhammer experience. But even with all that being said, I always felt like something was missing, you know? I craved that raw power fantasy to feel like a walking tank that is a Space Marine. Boltgun got really close with his old school shooter kind of vibe, where you felt like genuinely powerful. But then, my friends, Space Marine 2 dropped, and it was different. Space Marine 2 has exceeded every expectation I've ever had for a AAA Warhammer game. My God, Emperor. This game is an experience. It didn't just meet the hype, it went over it and destroyed it. The Ultramarines have probably never looked this good in a video game setting, period. It's like Saber Interactive crafted a love letter to us 40K fans and just wrapped it up with the big "For the Emperor" seal of approval. This game really feels like it'd be a really big gateway to more and potentially even bigger Warhammer adaptations. I mean, like, could you imagine like just seeing more Warhammer stuff just everywhere? But let's focus on what exactly makes Space Marine 2 so good. And a short and brief answer is honestly everything. The combat is genuinely like nothing else. The only thing I've seen really come close is maybe Gears of War. It blends raw brutality with precision slashing through hordes with your chainsaw, blasting enemies with a sniper rifle, or any other weapon you pick up along the way. The diversity in combat keeps you engaged in the game every second. And when we mention combat, we also have to mention balancing, and Saber Interactive nailed it. You really feel overpowered as a towering 8 to 10 foot Space Marine, but the enemies still pose a genuine threat, as they should. I found myself dodging more than I expected, and that parrying mechanic, really fun. Parrying to doing an execution, a very savage execution at that, is just jaw-dropping and just so much fun. The weapon variety is another thing that keeps the game fresh. You really got options from bolters, chainswords, and even my personal favorite, the sniper and warhammer combo. Swinging that warhammer is pure satisfaction, and honestly it's hard to describe how much fun it is until you've played yourself. So if you played the early access or watching this post-launch after playing, what's your favorite weapon? Drop it in the comments below. Now let's talk enemies. Now I won't spoil all the enemy types because this is a non-spoiling channel and I just don't want to do that to you guys. But the Tyranids, which we've all seen in the promotion, stuff like that, they are a menace. There were so many moments where it felt like the screen was just flooded with Tyranids to the point where it felt overwhelming. Saber Interactive really captured the essence of the Tyranid Swarm from the tabletop games, and just honestly from the lore. I really do hope they add even more Tyranid enemy types in future updates, because the base they built so far is so solid, and it's really obvious they're gonna add more enemy types, especially later down the road because they already put out the roadmap. But I need more Tyranids, man. I just love how they interact with the environment, with the Space Marines themselves, and just the overall challenge they present. I can't wait to see that content they drop over time. Now there are more enemy factions in the game, but obviously I'm not gonna spoil it because that would just be very rude. But there was Chaos Marines that they showed in promotional materials that are really fun to fight against, and they are like the coolest designs. Next, we gotta talk about the environmental design. The environmental design in this game is just wow. Saber did such an incredible job reflecting the grimdark aesthetic of the 40K universe. The Hive City, for example, is massive. I mean, you can even see it from outer space when you're in the ship talking about the missions and stuff like that. That's nuts. I've always kind of wondered how the scale of a Hive City will look in the game. And man, it just really blows my mind. And we can't talk about the Hive City without mentioning the Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, if you don't know who they are pretty much the technological kind of cyberpunk looking guys that you see in the roads around the game. And I have to appreciate Saber's attention to detail with them, because they are a really good faction. I feel like this really isn't touched on enough, but the attention to detail they put on them is really good. I mean, from the architecture, from some of their hideouts and some of their buildings and stuff, to the color palette, textures, every level just really screams Warhammer. And then there's the story. Now, I didn't really expect much, to be quite honest with you, because Space Marines tend to be all about duty and honor. They're very stoic characters, and those are notoriously hard to write good emotional stories about. But boy, I was wrong. Titus, the protagonist, is a beast of a character, dealing with suspicion from his brothers while still commanding your attention every step of the way. The writing behind Galadriel and Chiron, the two co-MCs of the story, also caught me off guard. They went from being kind of side characters, I was just like, okay, to being people, being human, you know? I feel like a lot of the Space Marines aren't really presented as being kind of human characters, but they really humanized the Space Marines here and made me genuinely care about them. And like I said before, I won't dive into too many specifics about the story here just to kind of not spoil you guys, but the way the story intertwines, especially with the lore, particularly with the Adeptus Mechanicus, adds so much layers to the plots that fans of 40K are gonna eat up. The tension, the suspicion, and just the sheer scale of the conflict, it's just all there, and it's presented amazingly. So with all my yapping and stuff, you know, being said, is Space Marine 2 the ultimate Warhammer game? And for me, honestly, yes, 100%. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but no other Warhammer game to me has delivered this much content at a good price and just free and just stuff you can earn at launch. Between the operation modes, the PvP option, and the highly replayable campaign, this might be peak Warhammer gaming for now. I can already tell that once this does well, we're gonna see a lot more AAA Warhammer adaptations. I feel like as Warhammer fans, we always wanted to see our big iron 10-man, you know, Space Marines on a big screen and just presented in an amazing way. And this is it. From the customization of being able to make your own Space Marine to just the overall just over the topness and sci-fi aspect of the story and just how the grimdark is presented. This to me is honestly the ultimate Warhammer experience and what I personally would use to put a gamer onto what Warhammer is. Like, there's so many times throughout the game where I just felt patriotic for no reason, right? Like, you feel like you want to fight for the Emperor, and I feel like every piece of Warhammer content or even just entertainment should feel that way. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Space Marine content or just more deep dive video essays, hit that like button and subscribe for the Emperor. I usually cover VR content on my other channel, but I want to expand my horizons and do more stuff like this. So make sure you support, make sure you come back to the channel, make sure you turn on the notification bell. It's been your boy Mario Dude, and I'm out. Peace.